So this is CJ Baker, and today my special guest is Joepinionated. And recently I actually appeared on his YouTube channel. We did a Ramones deep dive. So you can check that out on the Joepinionated channel, which is also at my friend Joe. So feel free to check that out. So he's now repaying the favor. So when we discussed doing a couple of artists that came up were the Ramones and Public Enemy, and because of my website, my first probably more than one shameless plug, ongoing history of protestsongs.com, it made sense that we do Public Enemy on this channel, even though the Ramones have a lot of protest songs as well. And I actually did a video on Ramones protest songs. But yeah, we'll get right into it. Like, I know you're a fan of Public Enemy, so what is your relationship with the group, Joe?
Thanks for having me again, CJ. Yeah, I'm happy to return the favor, especially when it comes to Public Enemy. Relationship, I've known Public Enemy, I guess, pretty much my whole life. Kind of got into them a little bit when they first came out, but I was pretty young. I wasn't really that into rap music as a kid, other than like MC Hammer and Maestro Fresh West and that sort of thing. Got back into rap music a few different times. Public Enemy sort of led the way a few different times, and me kind of falling in love with the genre in general. I can't say I've always been the hugest Public Enemy fan, but I'd say in the last, since I started this channel, the Joepinionated YouTube channel, Public Enemy was actually the artist that made me kind of stop. I had a really good flow going on, and about an episode every couple of days or an episode a week. And a friend of mine, also named Joe, stopped me at a record show approximately 3 years ago to the day and said, "You better take a little extra time with Public Enemy. I'll be watching." And he was a huge Public Enemy fan, and he was worried I was going to take it a bit too lightly and just kind of throw the hits out there. And so I stopped, and it really kind of screwed up the flow of my channel in general because I got so into it. And so I'm a huge Public Enemy fan. I can't wait to talk about this group and how important I think they are in the history of music. And as far as rap music goes, I think they're the most important thing in rap music. So big fan, big, huge fan.
Excellent. Yeah, with myself, kind of in my preteens in the 80s, I did go through a rap phase. You actually mentioned Maestro Fresh West. The first cassette I spent my own money, so I spent my allowance on it, was Symphony in Effect by Maestro Fresh West, which included Backbone Slide. So I guess for our non-Canadian fans, Maestro Fresh West was the first Canadian rapper to have some success in Canada. I don't think he was quite as successful in other parts of the world, but he was a big deal in Canada. But yeah, I went through a bit of a rap phase. I watched Rap City on Much Music, which is Canadian MTV, back when they both played music videos. But at that point, I wasn't overly into Public Enemy yet. I knew of them, and I knew of Flavor Flav with the alarm clock. That was kind of amusing. But at that age, I was still more into the rap I was into wasn't as necessarily hardcore. I like DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, Bust the Move by Young MC, and kind of more stuff like that. You didn't mention MC Hammer, like I had Please Hammer, Don't Hurt Me on cassette. But what kind of got me into Public Enemy was actually when I was starting to get out of rap music. I was in my teens and I was getting more into alternative rock and aggressive music. And they had the Bring the Noise, the version with Anthrax, which got played on the Toronto alternative station, 102.1 The Edge, got decent rotation on Much Music. And then I explored a bit more. And then I realized, especially with like the Bomb Squad production, Public Enemy is as heavy as just about any aggressive band out there. And they're heavier than a lot of like metal bands. Like we have an intense, aggressive sound and they really rock hard. And then as I started to develop a bit more of a social consciousness, the lyrics started to connect with that as well because basically a white boy in the suburbs, I didn't really understand what Chuck D was rapping about, but it exposed you to things and perspectives that I wouldn't be aware of otherwise. And I kind of like that. I like to be socially aware and kind of know what people of other backgrounds are going through. So I would say not only did the music rock hard, it was also, I'd even say, somewhat informative and educational as well. So that was probably my kind of starting point with the band. But I did enjoy the deep dive. I guess we'll get into it a bit more because I consider myself a Public Enemy fan, but if I'm being honest, most of what I'm a fan of was the classic period. So when I go back to Public Enemy, it's those first few albums. And I still think they have a clearly defined classic period, but there's a lot of gems that were released throughout their career. And I think there's probably people that kind of overlook that, which is unfortunate that the later period doesn't necessarily get the attention that it deserves. So I guess with this list, we're going to give it that attention. So we'll get right into it. They have a total of 17 studio albums. It should be acknowledged there's some debate here because it's not really straightforward discography. I did see some lists that, for example, include the album Greatest Misses, which we're not including because it's generally considered a compilation, but it does have some new tracks, so some lists include it. We're not including the Enemy Radio album, which does not does not include Flavor Flav, and because Chuck D and Flavor Flav are the only two constant members of the group, not having Flav is pretty significant. And it's also interesting on the Enemy Radio album, the only track that Flav appears on, it's listed as feature in Public Enemy. So you got Enemy Radio, feature in Public Enemy. So that's a good indicator that they're considering it two different projects. So we're excluding that, but we had a total of 17 albums. So you started first when we did the Ramones. So I'll kick it off here and I'll start with the bottom four. So to begin with, we got Revolution from 2002. This is an interesting one because in some ways it's kind of like Greatest Missions, that it's almost comes across as a compilation, but it's generally classed as a studio album. And I think it's because of the 9 new tracks. But more than half the album is remixes, live recordings, and interview snippets. And the remixes, live recordings, they're fine, but none of them are better than the original. The interview snippets, they're kind of just there, and it's almost like the whole thing's kind of just it's like a slapdash collection of things. So the interviews don't really add too much to it. Of the 9 new tracks, the only one I'm kind of into is Son of a Bush, which is a decent protest song about George Bush Jr. back when he was president. But also the album, it's just a really long album and it's a slog to get through. So basically I had it at 2.5 stars. And it's my least favorite Public Enemy album. So my next one, number 16, is Man Plans, God Laughs from 2015. And there are all things I do like about it. First off, it's the shortest album at 28 minutes. And some of my criticism about some of their albums is they do tend to be long, which is also a CD era criticism. A lot of bands did long CDs in like the 90s. And so 28 minutes is a good length. I do like the opening track, No Sympathy from the Devil. I do like Earth is In. Those are solid tracks. The rest of the album's mostly okay, but it also has one of my least favorite Public Enemy songs. I really do not like Honky Tonk Rules, where it samples the Rolling Stones, Honky Tonk Woman. So yeah, that song, yeah, it makes me cringe,
I
and it's
couldn't agree
probably the
with you
worst song
more.
they ever
Yeah.
did.
Oh yeah, I
Do you agree with
totally.
me?
Oh man, sorry, I got to step in. Yes, I agree, and I'm glad you remembered that. I hate that
Yeah.
track. Go ahead. Sorry.
And then the other downside to the album is it also suffers from the lack of Flavor Flav. So he does appear on the album, but he's not as prominent. And I think sometimes his contribution to the band does get minimized a bit. Like he plays an integral part. So I think the lack of presence on the album brings it down a bit too. But overall, it's an okay album. I had it at 3 stars. So the next album, number 15, is Rebirth of a Nation. So that's a collaboration with Paris, who I'm going to be honest, I'm not super familiar with Paris. I'm not even sure why, because I am a fan of political rap, so it sounds like he's an artist I should be into. So at some point, maybe I do need to try to do a deeper dive. I think, unfortunately, this is not considered the best introduction to him. And also, the album, it's billed as Public Enemy featuring Paris, but it almost should be the other way around. Paris is featured very prominently. It should be Paris featuring Public Enemy. He's the main force behind the production. The production's okay, but it's not the style I want for a Public Enemy album. The one song I like is Make It Hardcore. Most of the other songs are just okay. My least favorite track is They Call Me Flavor. And I actually enjoy a lot of these solo Flavor Flav songs. Like there is some highlights throughout the catalog, but this is not one of them. This song's cringe and it doesn't really work well and it's kind of irritated. So yeah, for the most part, the album's long. It's a bit disjointed. It's just kind of okay. I had it at 3 stars. And then my number 14 album is Nothing is Quick in the Desert. So that was released in 2017. So this was released as a free download and basically it never received an official release, so it's not widely available now. Like I had to stream it on YouTube. What I like about the album is it does have an arena rock feel of the album. So I think it was kind of designed so that they could play the songs live. But there are some songs that do bring it down a bit. Like Yesterday Man, I like the song musically, but the lyrics are kind of cringeworthy and bringing the song down. I'm not a big fan of the song Toxic, so that kind of falls a bit flat. But I do enjoy the song Smash the Crowd, which features Ice-T. I enjoy the song Terrorist, which goes hard. I also like Smells Like Teens Hear It, which has a solid verse from Flav. This actually has one of the stronger Flav verses. And it's a solid commentary on the musical generation gap. And I also like Rest in Beats, which is a decent tribute to dead rappers, and it features some old school beatboxing. So overall, it's an okay album. I had it at 3 stars. So that's my bottom four. So what about you, Joe?
Oh yeah, Public Enemy albums ranked against Public Enemy albums. Yeah, same thing CJ had mentioned about which albums to include on this ranking. I fully agree with them, except for number 17. I don't really think this is a Public Enemy album, as he just mentioned. My number 17 album is Rebirth of a Nation, featuring Paris, who I'm not really a big fan of myself personally. And as much as I have all the respect in the world for Public Enemy and Chuck D and all that sort of, and the whole movement, the whole thing. I think it's all really smart and educational. Some of these like collab albums and stuff, and there's quite a few. They have like a trilogy with other people and stuff like that. There's all sorts of kind of side projects and stuff like that. This one doesn't sound like a Public Enemy album, and it's not, and I don't really think it is. So against other Public Enemy albums, this is my least favorite. So that's nice and easy for me. 2.25 stars is what I got for Rebirth of a Nation. I have all my notes and stuff I put into Rate Your Music. So on Rate Your Music, you can find Joepinionated, and you can actually see my track by track rating of each song on every Public Enemy album. My favorite song on the album Rebirth of a Nation is Rise, the third track in. And it was just kind of a bit of a taste of maybe this album's going to get better, and for me, it never did. Okay. Next up, I have, and I think it was your number 17, and this is basically like a stapled together kind of compilation, thrown at the wall thing. I believe this is the first album with DJ Lord. Professor Griff was out and saw DJ Lord at some sort of DJ battle, DMX thing, something like that. Put It Up is probably the highlight for me on this album. It's track 4. A little bit later on, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, boom. I like it. Yeah, that's all I gotta say about that album. I got it at 2.5 stars, Revolverution, so which is the same that you had it at, which was kind of a miracle. Number 15 for Public Enemy, I have from 2012, The Evil Empire of Everything. I've got that one at 2.75 stars. I do the quarter star thing. Not a ton of standout tracks for me on this album. I find that their albums are actually very consistent. Where you're talking earlier about them long albums, especially, towards the end of the 90s and pretty much everything on the aughts, I find they're very consistent albums. Like they're good from the very start to the very end. And if it's not so great, if the production's not great, it kind of stays like that through the album. And that's a problem I have with Revolverution. That's a problem I have with this album too. Evil Empire Everything seems a bit more like a throw it at the wall thing, whereas a lot of the Public Enemy albums are so precise. It's insane how precise these tracks are constructed, and there's music in their message, and that's a huge part of everything with these guys is about learning from your mistakes, learning history so you don't repeat it again. It's also a big thing with Public Enemy and their lyrics is about, okay, well, we need to start here. We need to start now. And this is how we build, this is what the solutions are. We need to get out there. We need to own businesses. We need to employ ourselves. We need to, build from the ground up at the same time as recognizing we need to recognize patterns in history that have happened before and they're happening now. They're just under different names and different scenarios and blah, blah, blah. So anyways, like you, it's an education. It's a major education. These guys have opened my eyes like almost no other band. Maybe Gil Scott-Heron, but I mean, and I think that that's a big influence clearly for these guys.
Oh yeah, big time.
Clearly. And
He
so,
was basically political rap before rap even existed, or before
yeah,
hip hop existed.
yeah. And what I used
Yeah.
to obsess over Gil Scott-Heron about his just those spoken word projects about H2O GATE blues. If H2O is still water and GATE is still gate, we get ready to dig on as the Watergate blues, or we beg your pardon, America, or dot dot diddy dot dot dash. Damned if I know the ghetto code. I love Gil Scott-Heron, and that's a big reason why I love Chuck D too. Anyways, around and around we go. They're very consistent through the albums. There's messages in their music. The music makes you move, but is at the same time, the juxtaposition with the serious messages deeply layered throughout it's incredible. It's a one off. They are the best at what they do. And sorry, my number 14 album, I'm bursting because I love these guys. My number 14 album comes from 2017. It's Nothing is Quick in the Desert. And I've got that one at 3 stars. So that's my first 3-star for Public Enemy. I don't dislike their albums from the 2000s and their most recent albums. They haven't come up yet, but I just think that this one just has fewer of the kind of great hooks that some of their later albums really have. I think that like musically a lot of their later albums are just as interesting as their first albums musically, but this album to me just doesn't, I don't know, just doesn't have enough great tracks, honestly. Beat Them All, the lead track, Nothing is Quick in the Desert, Speak with PE capitalized. I mean, they're all okay tracks. They're just not as great as the other album tracks. 3 stars. Nothing is Quick in the Desert.
Okay, so we'll do the next three. So I got number 13, New World Order. So released in 2005. So yeah, it's a decent album, but I find it's a bit long and uneven. But there is strong moments. Like I like the title track. I like Bring That Beat Back, which goes hard. I also like Make Love, Fuck Raw, featuring Moby, which on paper would be a combination you wouldn't think that works, but it actually does. And probably my favorite track on it is actually the closing track, Superman's Black in the Building, which is over 11 and a half minutes, but it's just a totally epic tune. And it's like Chuck D adopting this almost superhero Black Avenger persona. And yeah, the song just hits really hard. So overall, it's a good album. I had it at 3.5 stars. So for number 12, it's He Got Game, released in 1998. So this is a soundtrack. But I decided to include it because it basically all the tracks all by Public Enemy, so it's not like a compilation soundtrack. The most well-known tune is obviously the title track, which samples Buffalo Springfield for what it's worth and features Stephen Stills. And it's a good song. Like I wouldn't say it's one of my all-time favorite Public Enemy songs, but it's a good tune. And there's other tracks I like on it. I like Unstoppable, which features KLS One. And it's always cool because there's a few times that they corroborate, but they basically all contemporaries, like they're part of the same East Coast hip hop scene. And KOS One and Boogie Down Production, if you have to make a list of not only influential East Coast rap groups, but if you're making of influential political rap groups, KOS is probably somewhere on the top five, top 10, him and Boogie Down Production. So when the two collaborate together, that's always pretty cool. There's also Shake Your Booty, which is a different direction for Public Enemy, but this is a Flavor Flav track that I actually enjoy. It's a fun party tune, so I actually do like it. I also like Politics of a Sneaker Pimp. That's a solid song as well. The rest of the album, I'd say, is just okay. Like, there's nothing particularly bad on it. I had it at 3.5 stars. And then my number 11 is Evil Empire of Everything, released in 2012. So it's actually one of two albums that they released that year. So I like the track Don't Give Up the Fight, which features Ziggy Marley. And it actually makes a reference to his father, Bob Marley's Get Up, Stand Up. So it's a cool tribute to his dad as well. And it's also really funky too. I like the song One, Peace in Parenthesis. That's solid. I like Why It Started, which features Tom Morello and Henry Rollins. And that's kind of cool because it's a similar, like Tom Morello with Rage. Public Enemy was a huge influence on Rage Against the Machine. And having any Rollins involved kind of shows that hip hop and hardcore punk, there's actually some similarities and a lot of like the political aspects of the music. There are some parallels. So I think it does kind of highlight that rapid rock and punk, it's not as far off as some people may think it is. Another highlight is the song Everything, which has a gospel feel, and Chuck D booming vocals suits the Simmons style delivery of the song. I'm actually surprised they don't experiment more with gospel samples because Chuck D does have a booming preacher voice.
Mhm.
Um, it actually suits that type of arrangement. And then the other song I want to mention is Icebreakers because it's an anti ICE protest song that speaks out against American immigration policy. So that's kind of what's happening right now. But it's under Obama. So it actually shows that they were willing to take shots at both sides of the political aisle. So there was no political tribalism here. And the issues that are going on now are nothing new. So the song almost seems prophetic, but it's not because it's just something that's been happening. So yeah, those are definitely the highlights. The rest of the album, I'd say, is decent. I had it at 3.5 stars. So yeah, that's number 11. So what's your next three albums, Joe?
Number 13, most of my heroes still don't appear on no stamp. I have it at 3.25 stars. It's from 2012, DJ Lord era. And we have Get In It, Hover Music. Yeah, I Shall Not Be Moved, though, is probably my favorite beat on this. Hover Music and I Shall Not Be Moved are probably the two standout tracks for me on this album. And the album just moves through, and it's a consistent album. I pretty much have the whole album at 3.5 stars, which is roughly where I have it ranked too. Number 12, I have New World Order. Standout tracks for me on this one are New World Order, the title track, Bring That Beat Back, Preach Into the Quiet. I quite like. I like the hard beats on some of these tracks too. You know, you mentioned earlier Anthrax. I mean, they've when he was starting Public Enemy, a big influence was hair bands at the time in a way, and how not to be a hair band, but just how they had that limelight and that presence. You know, they were able to preach to the most people. So there is a lot of that sort of big hair band thing kind of going on in their imagery a lot. And also in the sounds, right? With Rick Rubin kind of being an early player with Public Enemy as well. Obviously the Bomb Squad, they go a little bit deeper, but with who they're bringing to it, every sample means something. So if the song has 20 samples, every sample's in there for a reason. I love to just go through the samples on these things. Anyways, I got New World Order at number 12, and at number 11, I have the soundtrack to Spike Lee's He Got Game from
Yep.
1998. Honestly, I was not into this at all when it came out. I like it way more now than I did back then. I don't know why. I just didn't think it was very exciting at the time. It seemed kind of like grandpa rap in a way. Like I was sort of more into
I think
Notor.
because it was built around a movie, it didn't have the same political statements. I think that was part of the,
I'm also
at least for
okay.
me.
Here's a side note. I'm a huge Indiana Pacers fan, and
Oh, okay.
I hate Spike Lee.
Because of the mix.
Because of his clash with the Pacers, and I think that that's part of it. I don't know, and especially at this time, like 1998, like Reggie baby, love that guy. I like it a lot more now. He Got Game's a good track. I like it more now. I did not like it back then. Unstoppable is a good track. House of the Rising Sun, I like it. I like it way better now. It's totally listenable, and why I didn't like it at the time, I'm not really sure. I give it 3.5 stars is what I got it ranked at. So number 11, He Got Game.
Okay, so we're now at our top 10. So we'll now do one at a time. So my number 10 is Most of My Heroes Still Don't Appear on No Stamps from 2012. So this is, like I said, one of two albums they released in 2012. And it's named after a lyric in Fight the Power. And then also that idea of most of my heroes still don't appear on no stamps. It's a theme sprinkled throughout the album. So that kind of adds cohesion to the album. And a few of the songs kind of make reference to some of Chuck D's heroes. So different influential black figures in history that get name dropped throughout the album. So the album opens strong with the first three tracks. I like Run to Its Door, Get Up, Stand Up, which features Brother Ali, and I think he does some strong work there. And I enjoyed the title track too, and I mentioned like the name drop of different of Chuck D's heroes. I also enjoy the track Real Talk, which features DMC of Run DMC, but it also has a lyric that's almost unintentionally funny for me. Like it has the line, stupid politicians can suck a thumb, but he kind of explains that DMC doesn't swear, so it's probably because of a religious thing. So it is that lyric gets kind of cringe, but it's kind of amusing at the same time. But it's also enjoyable. Just it's a song for the old heads, which I'm an old head. Like it has an old school rap feel. And Run DMC is an influence on Public Enemy, so it's nice that they got to work together on that track. You mentioned Hoover music. I do like that. I enjoy Catch the Throne, which is a hard-hitting commentary on systemic oppression and racism. And it also takes shots at both sides of the political aisle. I also enjoy Fast Food, which is a lot of fun. The closing track, WTF, that falls a bit flat and feels clunky, but it's a rare occasion because there's a lot of like songs where I enjoy when Chuck D and Flavor Flav actually play off each other. And this might be the only time where Flavor Flav I actually prefer his verses. So the song does fall flat a little bit, like where Flavor Flav outshines Chuck, then the song probably doesn't quite hit. So that brings the album down a little bit, but it's still a good album. I added it 3.5 stars. So what's your number 10?
All right. My number 10 comes from 1994. Music and Our Message. Love the title, love the cover. But this album I wasn't crazy about once again at the time. I wouldn't say it was a fall off album because I wasn't really that crazy about Public Enemy at this time to begin with. I'd kind of fallen out. I'd kind of gotten over the first couple albums by this point. And they were kind of like seen as like an 80s novelty act in here at the time. I was a kid, right? So Music and Our Message, just, I think of Give It Up, the track, Staying With Me. That's sort of like the highlight to me at the time. Now, when I go back to it, it's really a continuation of what you might refer to as the classic era. And maybe this is still, in your eyes, part of the classic period for these guys. But this is basically where the line is drawn, is right around this time. So it's a great album the whole way through. I've got it at 3.5 stars. I don't know what's going on personally for these guys at this time, whether it's I think, oh, maybe this is the one. I know one of them, they had their music stolen right before they went to the studio. It might have been the one before this, but anyways,
Yeah, it's Apocalypse 91.
yeah, that was Apocalypse 91, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about this. The albums all seem so well thought out and so planned out and stuff like that. And it just doesn't feel as well thought out and as well planned out as all of the previous albums to this point. So that's what happened at the time, I guess. And I got it at 3.5 stars. It's still a great album. Music in our message.
So my number 9, There's a Poison Going On from 1999. So it was originally released as like an internet-only release. So the band was kind of ahead of the curve there because this is basically the early stages of the internet and music streaming. So this is the first album not to be produced by the Bomb Squad. I do like the opening track, which is basically it's a minute and a half sound collage, Dark Side of the Wall 2000. But I really like the sample of Baby Huey's Hard Time that recreates a vibe that sets the tone. I also really like LSD, so the song, not the drug. But yeah, it goes hard. 4119 features strong vocal interplay with Flavor Flav and Chuck D, so that works really well. As far as the rest of the album goes, it's mostly decent, but musically it starts to feel repetitive a little bit. Like, for example, one of the songs, Crash. I like what they're trying to do with the piano and sound effects, but I do find the sound a little bit off putting. Similar, Crayola, I find it to be a bit grating as well musically. So I like what they're experimenting with, but it doesn't quite connect with me. And also with the Crayola, it's a little bit unfortunate that I don't connect the musical arrangement because I actually like the lyrics. Like Chuck D has some insightful commentary on there about the music industry. And it's the other thing I also say just about any Public Enemy album throughout their career. A highlight's always Chuck D's voice, and his voice aged well. So even if the musical arrangement, if I don't fully connect with it, or even if it's not the best lyrics, his voice is always going to command attention. But yeah, overall, it's still a good album. I enjoyed it. I had it 3.5 stars. So, what's your number 9 album, Joe?
All right, number 9 for me comes from 2015. Man Plans, God Laughs. I have it at 3.75 stars. 2015, so this is one of the later ones. But I think it's got a lot of really great hits or great tracks on it. Give Peace a Damn was a great track. Man Plans, God Laughs. I like that track. Me to We is another strong track. Core Plantationopoly. I think it's a strong track later on in the album, and the one after that too. Like it's a solid album, almost 4 stars. Man Plans, God Laughs. These guys don't get bad. Like that's something else you should know about my thoughts on Public Enemy is that these guys don't fall off. I think they're still great to this day, and this is a perfect example of that. This is an album I wasn't really familiar with before diving these guys a couple of years ago, and it was a joy to come back to it. Man Plans, God Laughs.
Okay, so my number 8 is Music in All Measures from 1994. So it's the fifth album. I think you already touched upon it a little bit, but this follows like a string of 4 albums that are kind of in that classic period and this kind of tail end of the classic period. So it is a little bit of a drop off in comparison to that. And I think because of that, there were people that were kind of disappointed by the album. I think in retrospect, it holds up better than maybe what people's initially response was. I do find the album to be a bit long, but once again, that's a CD era problem. There's solid bookends, like there's a strong opener, whole lot of love going on in the middle of hell. I like the closer, living in a zoo. Give It Up is the highlight of the album for me. Like it's a really funky groove. There's some really insightful commentary, and also once again good interplay with Chuck and Flav. I don't think Flav always gets enough credit for his contributions, and I think he's important because Chuck D is obviously really serious with his delivery, and I wouldn't say that Chuck D doesn't have a sense of humor, because I'm sure he does. But Flavor Flav, I think, adds a little bit of levity. If Flavor Flav can be serious too, like he does to make serious social statements, which we're going to discuss later. But there is a yin and yang going on, which I think is important for the band. And I think they balance each other out. But yeah, that song has excellent interplay between the two of them. I also enjoyed, I think you mentioned this too, what side you on. I think you mentioned that in your comments. That hits hard musically, and enjoy the political messaging. I also like Race Against Time. So yeah, even though it might have been a bit of a drop off after the first four albums, it's still a really strong album. I added 3.5 stars. So what's your number 8 album?
All right, my number 8 album comes from 2025. Black Sky Over the Projects, Apartment 2025. I find that I'm a huge Flava Flav fan, so you're preaching to the choir anytime you're mentioning that. Like I think he's an absolute beauty, and couldn't be more opposite than Chuck D. He's a crazy, legit crackhead at times, a legit alcoholic at times, legit has some stuff on the side at times, but
Yeah,
he's
and
also
Chuck D, I think, pretty close to straight edge.
he's
Chuck
does
D's pretty
yeah.
clean living.
Chuck D's
Yeah,
sober. Chuck D's stone cold sober, but like and reliable, and that's part of his thing. He has to
yeah,
be. But also, Flava Flav, he's the musician of the group, and he's very musical. And when he spits his rhymes out, he's doing it with the flavor of James Brown and the flavor of Sly and the flavor of like he's doing these hits on purpose. So when he does get up, get down, 911's a joke in yo town, that's a James Brown thing. And it's like there's a lot of like I get he's the hype man, he's the comedy to he's the yin to Professor Griff's yang. But I think Big Daddy Kane was talking about talking about Chuck D and how he created the James Brown thing for himself, and how he had the sidemen doing their certain roles to set up Chuck D and the message, right? It's kind of a planned out thing to have Griff and to have Flava Flav. I got so much respect for Flava Flav. Anyways, Flav though his voice didn't age as well as Chuck D's, unfortunately.
yeah, I agree with that.
So that's the one thing where it's like, eek. There's a couple of moments later on where you're like, damn, Flav, you don't hear that? And like sometimes it's like he didn't at the time hear that because he might have been messed up or something like that or whatever. He just didn't that I don't know. Or maybe he's just above me musically and I'll catch up to it down the road. I'd like to believe that. Black Sky Over the Projects, highlights for me, sexagenarian vape, fools, the Dirty Drums mix, and confusion. Here Comes the Drums. Those are my top rated songs on my Rate Your Music account. I'm Joepinionated on Rate Your Music, YouTube, all over the world, West Coast of Canada especially though, and Black Sky Over the Projects is a cool album from 2025. It didn't make my albums of the year list because I don't rank the albums the same way when I'm not ranking them against other artists. This is against Public Enemy albums. I got this at 4 stars.
Yeah, so my number 7 is the album you just mentioned, Black Sky Over the Projects, from in 2025. So it's a really solid later period album. Some of the tunes do get a little bit repetitive, both musically and lyrically. Like, I'm not too keen on the opening track "Sick." Like, I don't mind it musically, but I think lyrically it's just a bit repetitive, and just the repetition of the word "sick." It almost seems that you're getting a little bit lazy just saying the same word again. But there is some really strong moments. Like I like Evil Ways. That's a really strong track. The closing track, March Madness, goes hard. Like I love that too. The album does have some good interplay between Flav and Chuck, even though, like I said, I do agree with you about Flav's voice doesn't necessarily age the best, but their interactions still work. Going back to March Madness, there's some also good social commentary on school shootings, which is very relevant. And then the other thing I appreciate, like you already mentioned, Sexagerian Vape. He also has the song Ageism, So I appreciate the fact, like he's basically at this time 65 years old. So I think it comes from a very real place that he's basically rapping about growing old and growing old within the hip hop community, which to a certain extent is a young man's game. And I think it also talks about basically the struggle with trying to remain relevant. And I think the most part, Public Enemy, I still consider them relevant, but at the same time, unfortunately, there are people that would be fans of those first like four or five albums that probably don't know that this album's released, which is unfortunate. So I think that's one of the things Chuck D is expressing, the chance of growing old, remaining relevant, and the fact that he still has something to say, but maybe get a little bit frustrated because maybe people aren't listening. So to me, that's very honest and candid, and I kind of resonate with that too. So yeah, it's a really strong later period album. I had it at 3.5 stars. So what's your number 7 album, Joe?
I agree, and I'm glad that you brought up that ageism song because I was thinking that too when I was listening to that. So yeah, it's kind of a different emotion coming from them, and sort of a bit of a different, like a self
It's
reflection
not
song.
something that people rap about because usually rapping's all braggadocious and you try to act young even when you grow old. Like it's
Yeah, I
so I
thought
thought it was just a very honest assessment.
it's rare. It's rare when rap does that, and I found out with that Clips album last year too, or whatever, when they're singing about their moms and stuff like that, and I was sort of or Push a T or whatever. I kind of get a bit of the same kind of feels, I guess. But yeah, that was a really cool album, and it's neat just to hear them not telling you what to do tomorrow, but kind of reflecting on yesterday. Anyways, my next album is from 2007. It's 4 stars. Uh, How You Sell Soul to a Soulless People Who Sold Their Soul. Um, so yeah, kind of a modern, one of their more modern classics, I guess, because this came out on their 20th anniversary. Um, Harder Than You Think is a serious contender for one of my favorite tracks. Sex, Drugs, and Violence, serious contender for one of my favorite tracks. And Long and Whining, like Whining Road. I also love that track. Near the end of the album. 2007. It's a bit longer. Oh, I'd like to mention skits. I normally hate skits in for the most part. If it's funny and entertaining, that's okay. If it's actually funny, which is rare for a skit, but like Snoop Dogg had a lot of funny skits that I love to sing, and like skits for the most part though, like Prince, I can't stand Prince's skits. I don't like them. These guys, they're the in between the skits or whatever has a completely different flavor where they are actually kind of where it is sort of preachy and it's very well done. It's very well, it tapes it all together perfectly. And I mean, the Bomb Squad's the king of the samples and the taping and grabbing a bit of this and having an ear for 12 things at once. So of course their interludes are magic. And I that's one of the best things about diving Public Enemy is it's no work at all. Whereas some bands it's like Prince, it's like you've got like hours of pornographic interludes that you got blasted on your stereo like over the course of like a dive. You got days of this stuff, right? So, anyways, I'm glad I remembered to talk a little bit about the interludes, but I do like them a lot. This album, like I said, has some standout great tracks. I like it a lot. That's my number, whatever we're on, 7,
Yep,
4.
number 7. So now number 6. So I got What You're Gonna Do When the Grid Goes Down from 2020. And when it first came out, because I think I mentioned a little bit, like with doing this deep dive, there is a blind spot with some of the more recent releases, but this actually wasn't a blind spot. Like I actually kind of, to be honest, kind of forgot about Public Enemy a bit. But then I heard they were releasing a new album, and it was the first album in decades that was going to be on Def Jam. So I was really excited about it. And it's like, okay, we're in a pandemic. You got a lot of chaos going on in the States. We really need a new Public Enemy album. Not even realize that there had been some relatively new Public Enemy albums. So in real time, I reconnected to this. Going back to it, I still really like it, but I didn't connect quite the same way. But yeah, apparently the plan was supposed to release this as an expanded edition of Nothing is Quick in the Desert, which never got a proper release. And it kind of is because it includes 7 tracks from that album. Unfortunately, it includes a couple of the Rico tracks, Yesterday Man and Toxic. So that brings the album down slightly. And I probably wouldn't have put those 2 songs on here. Like if they needed 2 more songs, I probably would have replaced them with Terrorist and Smells Like Teens Hear It. But the strongest tracks on this album were not on that album. Uh, like it opens strongly with the first 3 tunes. So it starts with When the Grid Goes Down, which is basically more of a brief introduction featuring George Clinton that segues into the proper track Grid, which features Cypress Hill and George Clinton. But the whole idea of what you do when the grid goes down, this was released during the pandemic, so it really resonated in that moment. Then the third track is one of the strongest tracks on the album, State of the Union, Shut the Fuck Up. So it's a hard-hitting anti-Trump tune, which obviously also spoke with what was going on. And the album also features 2 reworkings of past classics, which I'm not always a big fan of redoing old tunes, but in this case, I think it works. Like one of them is Public Enemy #1, which is cool because it featured Mike D and Ad Rock, the Beastie Boys, and Run DMC. So basically, musical contemporaries of Public Enemy. And Public Enemy, and some people may not think this because the Beastie Boys obviously content wise go in a different direction, but Chuck D has cited Beastie Boys as a musical influence on them. So the fact that they got to collaborate together, I think was kind of cool and it was kind of a fun reworking. And then the other reworking was the remix of Fight the Power, which I mean, it doesn't quite measure up to the original because the original is an all-time GOAT track. Um, but it resonated in the time because it was basically recorded to respond to what was going on with the BLM protests. And it did include some really good verses. Like there was some heavyweights here. Like there was like Nas, Black Thought from the Roots, who I think sometimes doesn't get enough praise. I think he's a GOAT level MC. YG, Rapper C, who I'm not as familiar with, but I thought she held her own. So she wasn't overshadowed by these great heavyweights. So yeah, it was a solid remix. And overall, I think the album, like I said, I didn't quite enjoy it as much as I did when I listened to it in 2020 because just listening to the context of what was going on with the pandemic, it super resonated. But it's still a really strong album. Like I said, the only thing that maybe brings it down a bit is there's a couple of weak tracks. The Nothing is Quick in the Desert. But yeah, there's a couple of the weaker tracks in that album that maybe bring it down. But overall, it's still a really strong album, still a timely album. I had it at 3.5 stars. So that's my #6 album. So what is yours, Joe?
My number 6 for Public Enemy albums ranked against Public Enemy albums. I've got Yo Bum Rush the Show. Yo Bum Rush the Show from 1987. So yeah, on the credits here, you've got people like Rick Rubin. You got people like Vernon Reid. You've got people like Terminator X. Flava Flav. Hank Shockley is on the credits here. Keith Shockley is not on the credits on this album, which is sort of bizarre to me.
Okay, he probably comes later.
Maybe he's under a fake name too, because they do that a lot of times
Yeah, maybe.
too. Eric Vietnam Sadler, and Bill Stepney.
Yeah, he was important part of the bomb squad.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So this is where it all basically started. there's a big jump up to the second album that's very famous, and I think I think it was Hank and Chuck D were sitting across town and both listening to Eric B and Rakim at the same time, and called each other and said, we need to like step our game up. And that's when they came in and did like I don't know, one of their hits off of Takes a Nation. But Yo Bum Rush the Show really established a really cool sound, and they get famous in England primarily, actually, from this album, and they get critical acclaim in the States, but not like massive like sales or whatever in the state side. But the lead single, the song that Dr. Dre heard and gave the tape to Rick Rubin, and or vice versa, and go find these guys. And um, yeah, it's a song about everybody kind of labeling Chuck as the enemy there on Long Island. And it really establishes their sound in a sense. This is like their DJ sound that you hear on a lot of albums later. Like there's a Poison going on, and like the more DJ heavy stuff, the more Chuck D heavy stuff, I guess, on the production end. But it's so cool. I love Terminator X speaks with his hands as a standout for me at the very end. The MPE, Public Enemy #1, of course, Sophisticated Bitch. You know, I I think it's a great album, and I own it. And it was the first Public Enemy album I bought on vinyl, anyways, not on cassette. We'll get to that one later. But yeah, I don't know. I love this album, and it's totally they grow up so much with this album, and and then it's just like a completely different thing after that. But there's elements of later albums in this album which I like and which I look for in later albums. So Yo Bum Rush the Show, respect. This is the ground. This is the foundation. I
Okay,
have it.
so we'll now get to
Oh, sorry, what do I have it at? Yeah, 4 stars. Sorry. Go ahead.
my top five. So this is a bit of a mouthful to say. How you sell soul to a soulless people who sold their soul, and then like three different question marks. Released in 2007. So yeah, the album starts really strong. Like I really like the first seven tracks, which includes the opening title track, Black is Back, which has an old school One DMC feel. So I love that. You mentioned Harder Than You Think, which is actually the most streamed tune, which I was surprised when I found that out. Apparently it was a big hit in the UK. I also enjoy Sex, Drugs, and Violence, which also features KRS-One. After those first seven tracks, it does start to lag a little bit, but it does pick up a bit. Like there's still some solid moments. Like it includes the anti-Bush and anti-war tune, the enemy battle hymn of the public. I also enjoy the reworking of Barry Maguire's classic Eva Destruction. So yeah, I mean, once again, I have an issue, but this is just my pet peeve with a lot of albums. It's a bit long. But overall, it's an excellent album. I had it at 4 stars, and it's my number five album. So, what's your number five, Joe?
My number 5 album comes from 1991. It's Apocalypse 91, The Enemy Strikes Black. I got it at 4 stars at least. This was the second Public Enemy album that I owned as a youngster. And can't trust it. Can't trust it. By the time I get to Arizona, shut them down, bring the noise, get the fuck out of Dodge. I love Public Enemy. And I love this fucking album. It is so good. It's so much fun, #1, but it's very serious. By the time I get to Arizona, standout, extremely cool track. I was listening earlier in the day because something I love to do with Public Enemy is listen to the samples used. And
You
because
can get those videos that shows every sample from an album.
you can do that.
Yeah.
You can Google what they
Yeah.
are and just start listening to the songs. which is another way.
I love doing that with Paul's Boutique as well. I had the Beastie Boys.
Yeah, the Dust Brothers. The Dust Brothers.
That's probably the best use of samples of any album. But bands can't do that anymore because it'd be too expensive or copyright laws have changed since.
The Dust Brothers were so great. They did Paul's
Yeah.
Boutique. They did Beck
You
Odelay.
can't make albums like that anymore.
No, they did Beck Odelay. They did Midnight Vultures with Beck, Paul's Boutique, and they did that Young MC album you were talking about earlier, and Funky Cold Medina, which Young MC wrote. I love the samples for sure. This is the fourth album, correct? The fourth, yeah. So this is the final album of what lots of people call the classic period, because it sounds so similar to the previous two, where the beats, the Bomb Squad is really in full effect. And the Bomb Squad being Chuck D and Eric Vietnam, Sadler, Keith, and Hank Shockley. Those guys are kind of who gave Chuck his start, because they kind of they were DJs who ran these parties and these shows, and they owned kind of a label and yada yada yada. But this is the fourth album of the classic period, and it's by the time I get to Arizona with the whole they're going to march to Arizona and kill the governor and kill the politicians, and the music video is so controversial and all that stuff. But you know what? Look, I remember a couple years ago when I bought Stevie Wonder's Happy Birthday, and they sample Stevie Wonder. But when I bought Stevie Wonder's album Hotter Than July, and I read the liner notes, and it's basically spelled out the same thing that this song, by the time I get to Arizona, the subject of this song 11 years earlier, and the same struggle going on, and then they sample Stevie Wonder in that song. I get like special feels when I figure something like that out, like on my own without the internet or whatever. It's like, bam, they tied that together. And
Yeah, and I enjoy that. I keep in with sorry to cut you off here, but with my website, I enjoy when protest songs shout out previous protest songs. And you see the evolutionary links.
yes,
And Chuck D and Public Enemy and the Bomb Squad, they're very skilled at doing that, making those connections.
I love how later they're sampling Public Enemy. but anyways, yeah, I have it at 4 stars. Apocalypse 91, great album. Number 5.
We got my number 4. So Yo Bum Rush the Show from 1986, their debut album. So this album does have a bit more of a golden age of hip hop old school vibe. But I also like that era. Like I am a fan of bands like Run DMC and early LL Cool J and kind of like the early Def Jams. So it does actually kind of fit into that lineage. It's also probably the least politically direct album, but it's still socially conscious and there's still commentary there. But you can tell, and I think you touched upon in your comments, they're still developing the sound and the voice, but this is an excellent template to build on. Like it's a really solid, strong template. And the album, it opens really strongly with the first 4 tracks. Like I like You're Gonna Get Yours, Sophisticated Bitch, My Uzi Weighs a Ton, Time Bomb. And I also really enjoy Public Enemy number 1, which also adds a different dynamic for me as well because it's almost like a classic hip hop. It's not quite a diss track because he's not dissing anyone, but it's the old style braggadocious. So it's still kind of a battle rap. Like Chuck D is very braggadocious, rapping about how he's basically a beast on the mic. And I do enjoy those types of tracks. And it's something that Chuck D doesn't necessarily do often. So I enjoy it when he does, because he does have the presence to pull it off. And also the album, and this is probably the best album in terms of turntable work, because it does have the old school golden age of hip hop feel. So there is some good turntablism from DJ Terminator X. So yeah, it's a really excellent debut, which really sets the stage for them to even scale off loftier heights. But yeah, excellent debut. And I had it 4.5 stars. Your Bum Rush the Show. So what's your number 4 album, Joe?
All right, number four, I've got at 4.25 stars. It comes from 2020. What you gonna do when the grid goes down? So there was a lot of hype around this album when it came out, because it was Return to Def Jam. They had famously left Def Jam 20 years prior. This album was a great album, I think. I love listening to this album. I listen to this album when I do chores. I think it's a really fun album. It's maybe their funnest in a lot of ways because it's just, I don't know, it's kind of celebration. Like, we're still here, we're still making it. They're still with their collaborators, like you said, KRS-One a few times, who I'm a huge fan of, the MC. And yeah, it's almost like a celebration album, especially obviously with the Fight the Power remix, with featuring Nas, one of the greatest of all time, who I'm sure knows that Chuck D is more important than him. And Public Enemy, in my opinion, is more important than any rap group in history. I think they are that important. And this album kind of celebrates it. State of the Union, shut the fuck up. Sorry ass motherfucker, get away from me. I love that song. Every line in it is brilliant. The Nazi Gestapo little dig in there, like just how it all just builds. I've seen this before. And that's really a common message, in all these things with the Bushes and whatever. It's like, I just saw this. And now it's like, well, I can't believe you did this again. Say that you get, no, shut the fuck up, you sorry ass motherfuckers. Stay away from me. It's so simple, yet brilliant. And I love it. This album that came out in 2020 and is a ton of fun and is full of bangers and great DJ premieres on it, right? Like all, different mix of all these great guys. You got George Clinton, Cypress Hill, blah, blah, blah. I love this album. So yeah, I got it number 4 or whatever number we're on.
Okay, good. So now I got my number 3 album, Apocalypse 91, The Enemy Strikes Back from 1991. So this is the 4th album. And I think we did allude to it briefly. This is the album where the disc that stored the music for every track that they were working on was stored. And apparently they were working on the tracks for a few years. So they had like a fairly limited time span to try to recreate these tracks. So it is good to note that this wasn't necessarily the sound that they intended for the album, but it's really strong and it goes hard despite the Lino production. And maybe even because of the Lino production, maybe it does add a bit of a different dynamic. The album does have strong bookends, like the opener, Lost at Birth, really strong. And then it closes, and this is kind of what kind of got me into Public Enemy as someone who was into heavy or aggressive music. It had to Bring the Noise. So this is the version with Anthrax. And Anthrax actually recorded the kind of version first, and then they kind of collaborated together. And Anthrax released it on their, I think it was Attack of the Killed Bees. I think it was that album. So it was kind of a B-side compilation because the record company didn't want Anthrax to release a song with rap on it on the main album, which I guess sort of worked out because it was one of Anthrax's biggest selling albums. It was a compilation of B-sides because of this song. Um, but yeah, I love that song. Goes heavy, kind of help bridges the gap between rap and metal and shows that the two genres, there doesn't really have to be that big a divide. Like metal kids, rap kids, they can kind of reunite and we enjoy the same music, and there was a lot of similarities there. And really, like I said, I already mentioned Bomb Squad. They go as heavy as any metal band. So yeah, I love Bring the Noise. Other highlights, I think you mentioned a few of these. Can't Trust This. By the time I get to Arizona, so that we touched upon it, it protests the fact that Arizona canceled Martin Luther King Day. And you mentioned there was a very memorable and controversial music video in connection with that. You also mentioned Shut Him Down, excellent track. So it does have some really standout classic moments. The album goes hard both musically and lyrically. I added it 4.5 stars. So that's my number 3 album. What's your number 3, Joe?
My number 3 album comes from 1999, and it's There's a Poison Going On, and it was kind of I downloaded it online, which is very easy to do because they put it out online, and it was, I think, the first time that happened, or one of the first times it happened, anyways, where you could buy an album online. There's also, I think this is when they broke up with Def Jam, right? It was right around the same time, and so this is kind of, and also the Bomb Squad kind of disbanded at this time as well. So there's a lot of movement going on. This is also when Terminator X kind of walked away and went to raising African emus or something like that. Or what is it? It was like, was it ostriches? It was something strange. Anyways, he went off to his farm, and DJ Lord ended up coming in a few years later. But Chuck D basically did the music on this one, produced the music. So it kind of goes more back to kind of their debut album for the sound to me. And it has some all-time favorite songs for me from these guys. I'd done Public Enemy episode on my channel, Joepinionated, in the past, and I had a few songs from this land in my top 5. For instance, 4119, which refers to the 41 shots fired by the 4 NYPD officers, 19 of which hit the unarmed Guinean student. That the song condemns police brutality, systematic racism, contagious shooting phenomenon. Also LSD, I love that beat on that track, is like incredible. The song I is another major standout to me on that album. Yeah, I love this album, and I've never seen it on wax. I think there are bootlegs in Europe, but Public Enemy. That's one thing I would love to say to Public Enemy on this record store day. I'd love to say this, Public Enemy: make your albums available, please. God, I'm tired of searching for your albums everywhere and never finding them unless they got some astronomical price on them. Are they like sitting in Long Island somewhere in a warehouse, or like some record store's got 100 of them? Can you put on your website where you can find them at a record store, please? Because like I look often, and I'm always looking for the top 10 on my list. I only have these 2 for a reason. And anyways, yeah, sorry. I love this album. I've got it at 4.25 stars again. There's a Poison Going On from 1999, and this is really like I said, I when I had this album downloaded, I remember like working out to it and stuff like that, and I was like right around graduation time when I first heard this, like around that age, and I was like, damn, Public Enemy is back. And Chuck and Flav is so strong on this album too. Flav is one of his stronger performances, is for whatever reason this album. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and I actually do, because I think I mentioned 4119 as well in my comments, but one thing I think I forgot to mention, the Bruce Springsteen song 41 Shots, American Skin, actually refers to the same incident, just to kind of draw parallels to songs about the same topics and well-known protest songs.
Cool.
But yeah, I'll get to my number 2 album, Fear of a Black Planet from 1990. So even the album title itself is a bold statement, like it references the anxiety of a predominantly white society in the face of increasing African American visibility and influence. Also, the iconic album cover kind of also adds to that theme. So it's illustrated or designed by a NASA illustrator, B. Johnson, and it also embodies the central theme of fear and empowerment. But yeah, the whole entire album kind of discusses that dichotomy of fear and power. So yeah, that's kind of a throughway throughout the album. We'll get to the actual songs because there's a lot of classic moments on this album. It includes the funky Brothers Are Gonna Work It Out, This is probably the absolute all-time best Flavor Flav song. 911's a joke, which is a satirical look at the inadequate response of emergency services in African American communities. But this shows where, because I already talked about the yin and yang and how he adds levity, but in this case, he adds levity but makes a serious, powerful statement at the same time. And it also has a really memorable, entertaining video as well. Welcome to the Terror Dome, like that song. It incorporates a dizzying array of samples. It combines various genres and styles, which creates a wall of sound that sounds both chaotic and cohesive. I really like Burn Hollywood Burn, which features Ice Cube and Big Daddy Kane. It critiques the film industry's portrayal of Black individuals and kind of the use of stereotypes. And then the album closes with not only one of the most important protest songs of all time, but one of the most important songs of all time, Fight the Power, which was written for the Spike Lee's 1989 film Do the Right Thing. But yeah, the entire album is excellent. This is actually one of the few times I don't mind that it's over an hour, so it justifies its length. But yeah, excellent classic album, 5 stars. It's my number two album. So, what's your number two album, Joe?
My number two is your number two. Surprise, surprise. Fear of a Black
Yeah,
Planet. I've got it at
this
four.
is when we get predictable.
Yeah, it is. Unfortunately, yeah. I got it at 4.5 stars. And that's very similar to what I have it ranked in that particular year as well. Like, it's a very incredibly strong album. I love that cover too. I spent so much time staring at it. That was the first cassette that I owned for these guys. Was Fear of a Black Planet. Um, yeah, the 911 is a joke. Flava Flav actually told the story about that on Nardwar, the Human Serviette, when he was being interviewed, I believe, in Vancouver or Abbotsford or something like that, where he said that that was based on a true story. He said that that's what happened. They were out somewhere and somebody was dying, and the person, I believe, died waiting for the ambulance, and Flav was there, and they were trying to get a hold of them. So the song was true story. It came from the heart. And yeah, like I mentioned earlier, I love the rhythm that Flav speaks in, and yeah, a powerful protest anthem. Like it's a great track, and it's still relevant to this day. Unfortunately, welcome to the Terror Dome. Another just classic track. Love looking into the samples, and Terminator X at this time is really in his prime as well too, and really adds to every song. And so it's, I don't think there are, I guess, some DJs. I'm not going to point out any like main DJs because I think that they're all pretty good, like Terminator X, but he is an integral part of the group, even though the production is done with Chuck D and the Bomb Squad. Terminator X is like a member of the group. So anyways, that's important to note. Can't Do Nothing For You, Man. Another cool Flava Flav chorus on that one, and just fun. Fight the Power, clearly incredibly important song. I love the video so much, and it's kind of like my favorite thing about Spike Lee is that video. And it just does so much, and it's very important at the most important moment in rap history is when that song came out. I think it's either that or the message from Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. It's one of the two. But Fight the Power, that's the bookend on that. Every sample means something. The lyrics made me look into things in general. I mean, in life, taught me life lessons about just looking into the other side of things. Elvis and F. John Wayne too, and stuff like that. I never heard somebody say that before, and I never even thought about that avenue before. I just had never. It came at me at a very impressionable time. I remember thinking like, hey, you know what? Maybe my heroes aren't on stamps, and so I don't know. The album means a ton to me, and I remember listening to it on my Walkman And I remember folding the pages out in the cassette liners and stuff like that. Like, just thought it was so cool. My cousin Chris actually got it before I did on a road trip. At that time, he was way cooler than I was. I got Snow Informer, but that's the truth about it. But
I can edit that out.
yeah,
See,
that's the truth.
the internet's gonna know.
He
No,
was the one who we bought it at a gas station in Montana. But anyways, yeah, I got it number two, Fear of a Black Planet. Great album cover, great band, like their most important band, and their second best album.
okay, so number one, which I think everybody, if you're watching this video, you probably know what the number one is because it means you probably like Public Enemy. So it takes a nation of millions to hold us back from 1988. And this actually made, like when Kurt Cobain did his list of 50 albums, his 50 favorite albums, and 50 albums that influenced Nirvana's sound. This actually made the list, which kind of makes me curious exactly how did it influence Nirvana sound? Maybe with musical attack or something like that. But yeah, I did think that was kind of interesting. But yeah, this is probably my favorite rap album of all time, one of my favorite albums of all time. Perfect album. Chuck D stated that it was his desire to create a hip hop counterpart to Marvin Gaye's What's Going On. And even though musically it's a little bit different because what's going on obviously isn't as hard hitting, is a bit more yearning. There's a lot of similarities in terms of subject matter and tapping into what was going on politically and within the culture. So I think and it resonates for similar reasons. There's a reason why both albums are considered to be very important, significant albums, because they're albums that resonate even more now than what they did when they were first recorded. But yeah, the album was influential in expanding the genre of rap. Like I mentioned, how the debut album still had a bit more of an old school golden age of hip hop feel. This had more of like a possessed, a rebellious punk rock spirit. The Bomb Squad production was heavier and more aggressive than most rock bands. And this is something Chuck D addresses on. So this is the initial version of Bring the Noise. So Chuck D's actually called out rock critics who were unwilling to accept rap music as rock. So he actually uses the lyric that basically rap music is rock with some pizzazz. It will last. Why you ask? Roll with the rock stars. Still never get accepted as. So this is Chuck D's statement that yeah, rap music is the new rock and roll, and we are rock stars. So I thought that was a powerful statement. Another highlight, Black Steel and the Hour of Chaos. So the lyrics tell the compelling narrative of an attempted jailbreak for a black man who's arrested for refusing to be drafted to the Vietnam War. And he based it partly, he had an uncle who was drafted into Vietnam. I don't think he was an actual draft dodger, but he noticed how it had a negative impact on his uncle, the anxiety it caused, and the anxiety it caused his family, and then you just kind of got them thinking when you look at the history of systemic racism in the United States, and then you're asking individuals that were victim of racism now to die for their country. You're forcing them to die for their country for a cause that maybe they don't understand or agree with. So if that's the case, if someone's arrested for refusing to fight in a war, for an unrighteous war, would it be righteous for them to break out of prison? So it's a very compelling narrative and some really excellent storytelling there. Other highlights, don't believe the hype, which Chuck D addresses not buying into false media narratives. And of course, fake news and false media. That sounds almost prophetic now, like it's even more relevant now. Other highlights include Suwatch's Channel Zero, Night of the Living Bassheads, Rebel Without a Pause, Prophets of Rage, which was later adopted as the name of the supergroup that in 2017 released an album. So the supergroup featured Chuck D, Three Fourths of Rage Against the Machine, and Be Real of Cypress Hill. But yeah, even if you take the politics out of the album, the Bomb Squad production, you can still enjoy the album on a musical level. But obviously, it's the lyrics that elevated the importance of the album that make it such a landmark album. So you kind of have both pieces working together. Like it's this musical epic, but it's also this very important political statement as well. But yeah, basically one of the most important albums ever released, 5 stars, and it's my number one album. And obviously it's your number one album as well.
Yeah.
So you can tell me why it's your number one album.
Yeah, same thing. It's perfect. It's better than that. It's very important. It's 7 stars. It's one of those. It's it's Abbey Road. It's that. It's that important. The lyrics, what went into each track, what the message is, which is let's get going, let's get started. This is what happened. This is where we're going. Start today. Bring the noise. Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype. It's a sequel. Uh, ooh, such a good track. Louder than a bomb. Chuck D's voice is loud, and lots of stories about that. Is that he brags about his loud voice. He's proud of his pipes. The lyrics just so deep. Night of the Living bass heads. The famous music video with the actual bass heads walking around and Flava Flav doing freebasing with these people behind the cameras and out of Chuck's sight during the production of that music video. Sure makes that a little bit more interesting. Black Steel in the Hour of Chaos, you mentioned the gravity of that track. It is so well written. The song, like, it is the way that these, yeah, the way that they project their messages, like the way it makes you feel just listening to the lyrics in this track. It can't get more real, and it can't get more critical. It can't get more now. It can't get more like they push different buttons that have never been pushed before or since, and it's all very important, and it's all still true today. Like every fact, like there's so many songs that are dated and just don't make any sense 10 years later. Whereas this is 40 years later and it couldn't make more sense. It couldn't be more urgent. Everything that you're supposed to feel then is just amplified. And it's like, that's the difference between this and Abbey Road. Whereas Abbey Road is a beautiful album to this day. And it's still as important to this day. But the what's going on in the social landscape of the Beatles at that time isn't what's going on in the social landscape or the political landscape in the world at this time. But everything seems to match up on this. Rebel Without a Pause. Rebel Without a Pause to me is like the sound of Public Enemy. And that is the song that they wrote after hearing Eric B. and Rock Him. They got mad. I think that Chuck D is currently writing a book or already wrote a book about Rock Him. And I got mad respect for those guys too, as being some of the goats of the rap business. I don't think Eric B. and Rakim, are they in the Hall of Fame yet?
No, they're not. They've been nominated a couple of times.
Check out CJ if you're on this channel. Your recent Rock and Roll Hall of Fame episode was awesome. But anyways, Public Enemy's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I know that because I've watched that many times. With Harry Belafonte even coming out and speaking on their behalf, which is pretty cool, pretty powerful. But yeah, I mean, is it the greatest rap album of all time? I would probably fight for that. I'm not sure if I've really figured it out yet, but I will say that Public Enemy is the first face on my Rushmore. And so is that Chuck D's face? I don't know. Is it their logo that Chuck D designed? He's an artist. I don't know. There's so many layers to all this stuff. But yeah, I've got so much respect for these guys, everything they've done. And this album is fantastic, and I still think they're doing fantastic stuff to this very day. That's why I've got their later albums in my top 10 all over it. And yeah, but I don't think there's been a more important album. Some groups, other great rap groups, such as De La Soul, A Tribe Called Quest. I love Jurassic 5. Outcast, for instance, they only have 5 great albums or 4 or 5 great albums total. And so,
Yeah,
like, as much as
they
those,
might only even have 4 or 5 albums.
that's basically what they got, right? All of those guys.
Yeah,
Beastie Boys, 6 great albums. I'm not saying Beastie Boys they're punk rock, but they're very important and sort of tied into this too. But they Public Enemy did it longer than all those guys, so it's not really like you're not comparing the same thing in a lot of ways. But yeah, I don't know. I think they're the greatest rap group of all time. Is Public Enemy, and this is
okay,
maybe the most
excellent.
important one of all time.
So that concludes our album list. So we're going to discuss some songs right now. So maybe what we'll do, I do plan on doing a longer song video at some point, but we're going to do something similar to what we did at Jules' channel. I'm going to improvise a bit because I don't really have a list prepared. So
Sure.
hopefully you don't have it trademarked, Desert Island Death Match.
Desert Island, yeah. Well,
Otherwise, we'll just call it music draft, or my music draft's kind of bored.
you can do it.
So we got Desert Island Death Match Battle. So we'll take turns picking a song. So I guess I went first
Yeah.
when we were on yours. So I'll give you the first chance to screw me over.
Perfect. This is great. Okay,
There we
Desert
go.
Island Deathmatch. Yeah, so the way it is, we're just picking our songs for a Desert Island, and you can't pick the same song twice. And so I'm going to screw you over, and the first song I'm going to take to my Desert Island is By the Time I Get to Arizona. By the time I get to Arizona, I love that. I love the fact he was urinating on the state when he wrote the lyrics to the song. Love it.
Yeah, great song. It would have been somewhere on my top 10.
Love that beat. That beat is
It wasn't my number one, so I'm happy about that.
okay.
I'm going to say, because some of these might be more strategical, because I'm going to do an extended
Yes. Yeah.
video
Don't
later.
don't give away too much of your number ones.
But the first song I'm gonna discuss, which I already mentioned, so I won't get a whole lot of detail about why I like the song, but Black Steel and the Hour of Chaos, which I think is some of the best storytelling ever. And I also do want to mention there's a really good cover version by Tricky that appeared on Max and Quail, which features what's her name? Topley Martina Topley Bird, I think that's her name, but actually has a female vocalist. But yeah, I enjoyed that cover as well. But yeah, my number one pick is Black Steel in the Hour of Chaos.
Number two, I am taking the song that makes me think Public Enemy. The second I hear the first horn, Rebel Without a Pause, off of It Takes a Nation of Millions. And I love it just because that, to me, when I was a kid, that was Public Enemy. The second I heard that, that was Public Enemy to me. And yeah, one of the best songs ever written. And yeah, I love the whole Hank and the Shockleys and Chuck D slapping us together after hearing Eric B. and Rakim. I think that's really cool. Rebel Without a Pause is coming to my island.
Okay, maybe because it kind of got me in the Public Enemy. I'll go with Bring the Noise. I'll say the Anthrax version. I love both versions, but I have a soft spot for the Anthrax version because it kind of got me into the band there. Kind of got fond nostalgic memories as a teenager. So yeah, my number two pick, Bring the Noise.
Awesome, awesome. So you haven't screwed me yet. You did get me on. Your number one song is my number 4 song. So Black Steel.
Okay.
Number 3, I am going with 911 is a joke. Get up, get
Okay,
down.
yeah. That's probably my next
911 is
one.
a joke in yo town. Late 911, where's the late crown? I called 911 a long time ago. Can't you see how late they're reacting? I love that song. And that was a tribute to my friend Kev when I was in high school. Showed me that song. And damn if I didn't love it. And I was right around the time I had my driver's license and the like woofers in the back. And get this song, and we're also listening a lot to Pimp of the Year. Pimp of the Year, going around doing shit like this here. But just love it with the woofers in the back. 911 is a joke, and Pimp of the Year. Okay.
Okay, so number 3, I'll go Fight the Power. Predictable, but love the song, very important track. So yeah, that's my number 3 pick.
All right. Get down. All right. Number 5 or number 4, I'm going with Harder Than You Think.
Okay.
Which is off of, is that Music in Your Message? It's I can't even,
No, I think
it's a bit
it's the How to Sell
How to
Soul
Sell
to
Soul. Yes. Harder Than You Think.
yeah, we'll just keep it at that.
Yeah, yeah, and the
Tongue twister.
soulless people who sold their soul. Harder Than You
Yeah.
Think. I like it. I don't know. I like the beat. I like the chorus. I like the whole thing. That's coming to my mind. Harder Than You Think.
Okay, number 4. Let's go Welcome to the Tailor. And I love this sample in it. A lot really going on and just a very heavy musical attack. So yeah, we'll go with that.
Nice, nice. That song I've never been that crazy about for whatever reason. Welcome to the Terror Dome wasn't one of my favorites, so that's good. All right, we're going good here. My next pick, number 5. Don't believe the hype. It's a sequel. Don't believe the hype. Ha! I don't know how many job sites I've walked around annoying people saying that over and over again. Or don't believe the hype. It's a sequel, meaning don't make the same mistake again, which I believe is one of the main themes of this band, if I had to guess. But don't believe the hype. Love it.
Okay. So that your number 5 was it? Or
5.
so my number 5. Yeah, Alex Will Brothers gonna work it out. Funky tune. We enjoy it. Yeah, so we'll go with that.
Very nice. Okay, my number 6 then. It comes off of There's a Poison Going On. I'm going with 4119. The song
That is a solid
the
tune.
song
Probably my favorite tune on that album.
the song that got me back into Public Enemy, the one of my early favorites of the Napster days of the internet, which is a very important time because before Napster, I couldn't listen to anything I wanted to. So it was like a flood of music for me anyways. For like 4 or 5 years I went hard and downloaded music, and this is one of the first things that was very easily downloadable. A very good quality song too. Great quality album, sorry. But yeah, 4119, all the feels. I still listen to it all the time. I love it. It's one of my like shower songs in the morning. 4119.
Okay. So my number 6, maybe we'll go to the very first album. I do like Public Enemy number 1. I really love the braggadocious type old school rap. So I really enjoy it. It kind of has that old school feel. Yeah, so it's just a classic tune, and that's what my number 6 pick is.
Fuck. That was my next pick, man. That was actually my next pick.
Okay,
Yeah. So my next pick
good.
then, my next one after that, I'm going to Give It Up. Give it up, give it up, give it up, give it up. I love me some Give It Up. Now that's off of Music in My Message, correct?
I think
I
so.
always get the albums all mixed up on these guys. But yeah, Give It Up. Love that track. I'm going to Give It Up.
Okay, maybe I'll do Shut 'Em Down.
Shut 'em
So
down.
that song goes hard.
Shut 'em down.
Yeah, so Shut 'Em Down is my pick.
Okay, number 8. I am going with State of the Union. Shut the fuck up. Sorry ass fucker, stay away from me. From that album, What You Gonna Do When the Grid Goes Down, 2020. State of the Union. Featuring DJ Premier, one of the greatest DJs of all time.
Okay, so let's see what I'm gonna go to now. Let's try to remember what we already said. Let's go with. Did you say Night of the Living
No,
Bassheads?
I did not.
Okay, I love the video for that too. Yeah, it's a great anti-drug song. So yeah, we'll go with that.
Awesome. Good song. Yes, good pick. Damn it. Next up, I like that song too. I'm gonna go with off of There's a Poison, LSD. I'm gonna take LSD off of There's a Poison. It's hard. It's kind of a cool song because it sort of sounds a bit more like gangster rap almost, a little bit. It's got a little darker feel to it. But the lyrics don't. Lyrics got some fun going on. LSD.
Okay, I think I'll go with Burn Hollywood Bird. I love that song, and I also enjoy the contributions of Ice Cube and Big Daddy Kane, and a really strong critique of the exploitation and stereotypes of black characters in film. So yeah, that would be number 9.
That's 9, yeah.
Yeah, I guess Yeah, number 9.
Yeah, I do love
So
me.
what would be
I do.
number 10
I
then?
do love me some Big Daddy Kane. He is so good. I especially love his 1993 album. Looks like a job for Big Daddy Kane. If you haven't heard that one, definitely check it out. Number 10, my 10th pick. I'm trying to find one that we haven't picked yet. I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with I Shall Not Be Moved. I think I Shall Not Be
Okay.
Moved. Yeah, bring some more respect to that album too. But yeah, I Shall Not Be Moved.
And you said give it up, right? Did
Yes, I
you?
did. I took Give It Up.
Oh, okay, so we won't do that one. I do really like that song. Uh,
One more.
maybe I'll pick
One
another.
more. I kind of, yeah. CJ didn't have his quite dialed in yet, so make sure you check out the channel for his full length Public Enemy song deep dive thing down the road. I kind of,
Yeah, and I'm gonna focus more on, mind you, most of the songs are protest songs. So that's kind of what I'm gonna focus on, and we'll go in a bit more detail and explanation of each song. But yeah, maybe for my number 10, we'll go. Can't. No, we'll go My Uzi Weighs a Ton from the first album.
nice.
I like that, and I also like kind of the old school feel there that they kind of build upon.
Yes.
So that'd be my final pick.
The foundation.
Yeah,
Okay.
good foundational tune.
Awesome.
So yeah, I guess that
Make sure you vote for who's got the better Desert Island playlist. Joepinionated, of course, or CJ.
East Coast, go East Coast.
Yeah,
East Coast versus West Coast, kind of like the hip hop battle.
we nation. Yeah, yeah. I don't got my.
Leaf Nation.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
don't
know.
got.
Maybe not Leaf Nation if it's.
Yeah, go Oilers for the playoffs. Go Oilers for the playoffs. But yeah, thanks for having me on the channel, CJ. And
Yeah, so
we
thanks for joining me. So Joe Opinionated, that's your channel. Anything else you want to plug in connection with that? Any videos to check out? Anything else you're working on?
yeah, so I've got a lot of stuff I've been working on lately. I've got a Ween episode coming up. So I got the Boognish on here, doing a collab Ween ranking the albums with some other members of our Discord there. So yeah, check out my YouTube channel is at my friend Joe on YouTube or Joepinionated. I've got a few different podcasts on there. The Desert Island Deathmatch. I've got Joe IQ. We're interviewing question. I've got some interviews lined up for that. I've also got some yearly dives all kind of ready to go from 1969 to 2009. So 25 best albums, 25 best songs coming to the channel. And also check me out on Instagram, which I've recently kind of started to push a little bit. Don't really have many followers on there yet. Instagram.
Okay, so check those all out, and maybe I'll make sure I post that in my description as well. That way, you're just not getting the two people that are still watching this video
Yeah.
right to the end. But yeah, so you could feel free to check out my website. And I'm going to be probably writing like a longer article concerning Public Enemy protest songs in the next few days. So you can check that out. So that's ongoing history of protestsongs.com. And if you want me to keep making content, please like and subscribe, hit the notification, and also feel free to share in your comments. I mean, on the off chance you did a deep dive, you can share your results there. But let us know what's your favorite Public Enemy album, what are your favorite Public Enemy songs. If you think any of us have like really bad opinions and takes, you can yell at us as well. Try to yell at us in a respectful way. But yeah, you can let us know that you disagree with our takes. So yeah, that concludes the video. Thanks for watching, and please stay safe.